I don't know.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good morning. We survived a storm.
we had a hurricane that came east of us. Remember my prediction?
I don't.
The cold front. Well, my non-prediction.
Oh, yeah.
So was if the cold front was to come through, it would pull it off to the east.
Oh.
And so what happened was a large, I don't know if you call it a cold front, but it was the high pressure system was coming from the northwest, which created this shear because the hurricane's going like this, and then this came this way, so it's breaking it up the whole way. So my prediction and non-prediction were correct.
Based on that description, I believe you should be on TV, particularly a weather station, maybe Weather Channel, because of you've got the shear and the hand directions.
Yeah.
Really help.
Well, and I know how to pronounce Atchafalachia.
Can you spell it?
Have you heard? No.
Well, I can spell it.
I can't spell it.
Atchafalaya.
That was good.
Oh well,
Yeah.
It's same. It's
impressive.
right up there with spelling Thibodex. Thibodeau.
You know what? Funny story. My friend he was from East Texas. He moved to Lake Charles, and one of his questions was, "What's Thibodiacs?"
Thibodiacs.
It's like,
Oh, that's even better than even better than Thibodex.
Thibodiacs.
Thibodiacs. Well, I've never thought of it
In the
like
long
that.
O.
It's very long.
Yeah. I don't know.
And a big X.
Yeah.
A big
Axe.
X.
He forgot the U.
What? I talking about the hurricane. I lost power for 12 hours, but I have one of those whole house generators, which is nice.
Very nice.
I've had it for a while, and it is really nice when it kicks in. But I was thinking that I have my generator. It runs on natural gas, which is really nice because I don't have to worry about a thing. And it reminds me of AOC and her Green Deal, Joe Biden saying that he's, but you know what? If you go on the internet and if you can look at, it's called the Biden-Sanders Unity Program Platform, something like that. It's like the Communist Manifesto. It's what Bernie Sanders and AOC and Biden and Kamala Harris say they support. It's like 126 pages long.
Yeah.
Single spaced, and
I couldn't get past the first paragraph of Mensa.
Well,
So I don't know if I'm going to read.
maybe I'm talking to the wrong audience. Well, I should talk to them.
I think the problem is most of them,
Well,
not most of them, but a lot of people. Remember the Affordable Care Act was the thing that you have to
pass it before you know what's in it.
And you know that you saw whenever they asked Biden about the whole, we'll get to that, packing the courts, he was like, well, if I tell you what my plans are, that'll be the news story, and everybody will talk about that. So I'm not going to. So
You know what he said about that this weekend? The Americans don't deserve to know what my feelings are about that yet.
Did he really?
Yeah. The reason
I didn't know that.
I thought that was rather bold. I was.
Yeah.
What did I hear that on? It was on. It was one of the news. It was one of the cable channel news things.
You know, we have to have our sources correct if we're going to be serious and we're going to say stuff that we think we know what we're talking
Or we
about.
could be planting something so that we get comments.
Yeah.
You don't know my strategy here. It could be that
Yeah.
I'm just planting something and.
Well, I like to say things that I don't know that are true. Sometimes because they sound good, but sometimes
I like it when you state things that you don't know.
Yeah.
They don't have to be true or not. It's just you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but
know.
But if I say it, and I say it with confidence, like I know it.
Talking about confidence.
The manifesto. I broke you.
Oh yeah, I was going to. The whole thing is such a farce. But in the very first section of the Communist Manifesto of Biden-Sanders. Look, and even the name itself, Biden-Sanders Unity Plan, Unity Program, whatever, that sounds communistic.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And but the very first section deals with the Green New Deal aspect.
Oh,
And,
but they don't support that.
Well, he says he doesn't,
Harris.
but he does. And
Not if he says he doesn't.
well, they put it in words.
Or is that me saying something, and I know it might not be true, but I'll say it anyway, just so somebody will like.
Well, he's
will like
early
it.
onset dementia, so he may not really know what he's saying.
I'm hoping that I don't have early onset.
I've
don't
kind
think
of
I do.
wondered if he has hydrocephalus.
See, I don't know what that is.
Well, water in the brain, and it
Huh.
it can cause aspects of early dementia and
Water on the brain.
water in the brain, hydrocephalus,
Okay.
hydrocephalus,
Okay. Never.
and
That's not the same thing as waterhead.
yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah,
You want to know something
you.
that's not funny?
No.
That's kind of funny.
What?
When I was in middle school, I played football, and in 6th grade, I didn't have a helmet that fit me. So they had to get a high school helmet.
So they called you melonhead,
No, my coach called me waterhead.
waterhead. Well, he was insulting, and I would go back and sue him now.
No, he's an awesome guy. We thought it was funny,
Well,
but I didn't know it was.
But it
a
marked you
serious...
for life. It marked you for life, and
No, I mean now it did.
Well, it's
Now that
marking
you
me
told
for life. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Now I look at you, I'll never be able to see you the same way.
I have to get really big hats.
I have a large head too myself.
Really?
But they never called me melonhead or waterhead or anything like that.
Yeah.
I still, if you can go back a half a century on the Boy Scouts on being sexually molested or whatever. Have you seen that on TV?
I heard
You
that
can go
there's
back.
like
A class
yeah.
action suit.
I don't know what
And so if you can do that for the Boy Scouts, you can do that with your coach. And
No, I don't think it. I mean, I don't feel like I'm.
I don't know how we
damaged.
did that.
Anyway.
But anyway, talking about that, the AOC and her Green Deal. Biden says I'm not into but he is,
Right.
Because it's in his Communist Manifesto.
It's on their website.
It's on the website,
Yeah, you can go look at it.
and it's on the Democratic platform that they put together
Yeah.
for this election year. Everything is AOC, Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
centered, which basically means it's communistic, socialistic in nature, and it basically ties the United States down to getting rid of all fossil fuels by 2030, 10 years from now,
Yeah.
and to cut down to refurbish all commercial buildings and homes even in the United States so that they are energy efficient, they don't leak, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was estimated the total cost would be something in the neighborhood of 60 to 75 trillion dollars in cost,
Right.
which who's going to pay for that?
My grandkids.
And their grandkids,
Yeah.
and their grandkids, and their grandkids.
Yeah.
But that's if our nation would exist, because after a few years of communist Venezuelan type of outcome, the United States would cease to exist as we know it.
Well, devil's advocate, Venezuela. It's still there. It's not
It's got the outlines of its former country,
right.
but it used to be one of the richest countries in the
Yeah.
in the Western Hemisphere. But when they about 30 years ago went socialistic
Yeah.
on their economy tanked. Because the government took over all of the energy, took over all of the industries, even the press,
Yeah.
and they got to a point where just
When you
a
take
few
over the
years ago,
press, Yeah, when you take over the press, that's
When you take
pretty
over the
much-
press, you got it.
You take over information.
you take over.
I've heard that most countries that are authoritarian, they keep their population uneducated.
They keep the population dumb.
Yeah, and that
And what happened in Venezuela is the people
I don't know.
they can't get groceries.
yeah
They had no food, no, I'm afraid there was no bread. There was no bread. There was no
Yeah.
meat. Medicine. There were the medical facilities went to pot.
Well, my friend that went to, they lifted the travel for Cuba. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah,
A
yeah.
little while back.
Yeah.
And so I had a buddy that went over there, and I knew another guy who actually went with a very, I don't even know, he's a politician, he's a prestigious person, you
Cool.
know, or ruling class. And they went over there, and the stores are empty. It was
Yeah.
like somebody had broken into the room and stolen Band-Aids, or they couldn't find a Band-Aid, or there was just, it's not a good trajectory.
It's not a good trajectory, and if you look over the past 130 years, any country that has really fallen into the trap of socialism, communism, totalitarianism, it's never worked. It's never worked. The Soviet Union, China is operating, but you have almost 1.5 billion people that are basically in prison. Their life is just nothing.
Yeah.
The people in Hong Kong are fighting because they don't want to go into a complete
Right.
communistic environment.
So don't you see? I don't know. Do you feel like this is a cycle that happens whenever a nation becomes wealthy, like a wealthy nation? And wealth doesn't always mean money. It can mean just a wealth of resources and things like that. There becomes a time where people will kind of gain the power and then be able to distribute that to try to, I don't know.
It's not so much, I don't think it's so much wealth of the nation itself as it is the fact that you become comfortable,
Yeah.
and then you get individuals like a Bernie Sanders or an AOC or leaders in the Democratic Party, for example, today that speak up because in regard to power, they want the power.
Right.
The power to tell you what to do, the power to tell me what to do. And that is what the crux of, they use it under the philosophy that we're going to make things better for everybody at
Yeah.
the same time. But the reality is they're looking to make themselves.
They're going to make themselves more powerful in the
Yeah,
process,
yeah.
but they can feel virtuous because they're doing something good for people that. So I heard a really good comment, and it has to do with the idea that there's always, it's a very black and white thought process, that there's always the oppressor and the oppressed. And so people along that line or that thought process, they feel virtuous because they always have to have someone that is being oppressed that they can fight for. So they want to keep people oppressed, but not in the open, I guess. Make an environment where people can either feel oppressed or actually be oppressed. But you can't really, I don't know, there's not much of an environment that you can say that's going on right now where people are actually being oppressed. I know there's an argument for the law enforcement. That law enforcement is actually, and they'll pull it back and say, yeah, there's a few bad apples. And I've heard the thing forever, good cop, bad cop. And I think that's a strategy more than anything.
You
Just
probably
trying to get-
experienced good bad cop yourself.
I did, and I was not a cop. So, I did one time, and I
You're
You
going
know.
to show them all your prison tattoos?
look. No, I've never been to prison, and thankfully, and no. But there was a time growing up that I didn't have a lot of direction. I didn't have a lot of. I didn't have a lot of guidance in some aspects.
I
could
was
say
here and you were over there.
I wasn't looking for guidance though, and that's one of the things that growing up that you'll tend to be, if you're lucky enough to see it in hindsight, which I feel like I was some way lucky enough to look back and see, man, you know, there's a right and a wrong, but I never felt like it was anybody else's fault for any situation that I got into. I felt like I've got to take the responsibility of myself, and I'm gonna ramble for a little while.
No,
but
it's good. You know,
That's-
going back to the Communist Manifesto of the AOC Green Deal,
See,
which Biden wants to support.
yeah.
He says, well, I'm not into the Green Deal. But yes, he is. He
Hold
wants
on,
to.
wait, time out. Because if he wins, we're going to get in trouble for this.
That's okay. You have to be brave and boldly go where no one else goes.
You're
if
right.
you're telling the truth, and
And you're telling the
and
truth.
patriots have to sacrifice. I just look at us, you
You
and me,
know-
as we're sacrificing an awful lot.
Yeah, and even comparatively, we're not sacrificing
Oh, as much as.
others have sacrificed before. So
Okay, let's talk about patriots. Go back to the
Yeah.
Revolution, and we get to taxation too.
No.
Our nation,
Well, we're gonna try to cut this short, so I don't know if we're gonna get to all that.
our nation was formed out through revolution
Yes,
over.
and revolutions don't always end up right.
Don't know. No. We were the first experiment to actually succeed in doing what we're doing.
Well, to end up as far along and as prosperous, I guess.
That we're on the cusp of communism.
Yep. There's a lot. Oh, I know. There's such a loaded debate right now about how we got to where we are. But you go ahead. I digress.
I like your digressing. Ooh, you read digressing. In colonial days, you always heard, I'm sure, growing up in history classes, that we were angry because of taxation without representation. The English Parliament and the King established taxes on the colonies.
And before that, it was like freedom of religion.
Some
of that?
That's right.
I mean, some of the. Do you call those
That's why
Puritans?
That's why they.
No, it's not the
Puritans, the Pilgrims,
all those people
did come to escape
the church
persecution. And,
yeah,
and
not really church, but religious.
Persecution.
Yeah,
and so the taxes that were put upon the colonies were set to pay for the British expenses of the French and Indian War.
Oh,
because the British.
That's right, because we got involved.
We got involved. The British got involved with we were fighting the French and the Indians out in the hinterlands of the continent at the time, and so the English, they needed money, and so they imposed these taxes, but they did it without anybody in the colonies having any conversation in regards to that, and so that was an impetus to have our revolution. And the reality is the taxes that they placed upon the colonies and to the individuals amounted, if my memory serves me correctly, it was something like 2 weeks of their annual pay. Now today, in 2020, you and I work, and of course I'm retired now, but we work almost 6 months to pay our tax bill, and then the rest of the year our.
So is it like 30 cents to every dollar?
I guess I usually do that as an average.
But that's just the federal tax.
That's just federal tax, not the state. It doesn't your gasoline tax. You got your food and your sales taxes.
Sales tax.
And
some places don't have sales tax, but they have property tax that counterbalance. But you get everybody's getting taxed.
To the wazoo. So we started a whole new nation
work
based on the fact that we were upset that the taxes that they imposed on us would take about 2 weeks of our pay.
Yeah.
Now, 230 years later, they're taking almost 50% of our pay through different taxes.
Yeah, and the thing is, you need taxes. You've got to have taxes because you've got to be able to. And it seemed like whenever they set it up, it was just to fund the Navy. I mean, like not the Navy, but at the time that was the most expensive thing, probably. But like your security, I guess.
We didn't have taxes. Our country, once we formed,
we didn't have taxes.
We didn't have.
Well, how did they make?
We didn't have income taxes.
But you had to have people helping out for each other.
They had fees and things like that for different services and products, but we didn't have an income tax.
So kind of like a use tax.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like if you're going to use it, you got to pay a tax on it.
Yeah, or you're going to buy that. That's the only. They didn't have income taxes until I forgot, like 1913, something like that.
But that's you're comparing how many people were there that time, and now how many people do we have?
Well, you have maybe 3 million people versus 330 million today.
So this is my economic. We have to get creative. You have to tax.
Well,
you have to tax more.
and we get to the point.
You got to pay your fair share.
Okay.
I'm just
Do you want to pay as a business owner?
What is a fair share?
You go to your accountant, and you want to pay the least amount of tax that's legally that you're legally responsible for.
I didn't exactly say it that way.
Well, no, but that's the
I
reality.
said I
of
just don't
business.
want to do anything illegal.
Well, that's right.
But let me know if there's any way.
They created
there's
the
any way I
tax
can
laws so
pay
that people
less.
could pay less.
But I think that I don't know.
And it's not
that
wrong to pay less.
But I don't know that I'm paying less. Like I still see what I pay in taxes.
No,
and
you're not.
I'm still paying a pretty penny. But I mean that's.
And that gets to my point of what Biden says, I'm not going to tax anybody under $400,000 in annual income. Well, that sounds good.
It does to somebody under 400,000.
Under 400,000,
Yeah.
but he's confused because the Trump tax cuts that we had 4 years ago, which he says he's going to cancel, that would raise our taxes back to where they were during the Obama era. Now, if he raises taxes on businesses, corporations, and things like that, people over $400,000, it comes to a point in time when you own a business, if you have to pay more taxes because of the increase from the government, you're not going to want to make less money for your family, so you're going to have to end up raising fees for your business.
Well, because money's I see where you're going.
And
because eventually, and with businesses, sad to say, but it's almost every business, the money or the expense gets passed down to the customer.
To the customer.
Yeah.
And
that widens the gap, it seems like, from the people that, if you want to have that haves and have-nots conversation, some of the things that what you're talking about would actually make that even worse.
It is.
And that's
Property
been
owners.
happening for the last.
Think of property owners that charge rent so that you could live in one of their homes. If he has to pay more taxes because of the tax increase from Biden, that will be passed down in the form of rent.
Yeah.
So and then the companies that make food and all our grocery items.
The price of milk goes up.
The price of milk everything goes up. So literally, we do pay the tax. That's what's really why and the Democrats have done that for 1,000 years. It said, oh, well, we're not going to charge. We only want to change the taxes on businesses and
but see, like even if you say income, and I don't know because I haven't read it, but it seems like if you're leaving it really vague and you're saying income under 400,000, if a business owner, when he does his taxes, if his business had sales at $450,000, that's his income. Doesn't mean that that's what he took home.
Correct.
Because his expenses at business could have been $425,000. Yeah, or $440,000, and so then there's $10,000, which he is then going to be paying the tax. Now, unless there's like people always really funny when I open a business, somebody would say, "Oh, you just write it off," and I always say, "Well, you got to have the money there.
You got to have something
be able
write.
to be able to write it." Like I don't. There's no. Yeah. There's that's why I have holes in my pants. It's not for fashion. It's actually because I need some.
Now, see, you've taken me aback. I have just always considered you hip and up to date on the.
No, just
but
cheap.
no, it's just
Just
you're
cheap.
cheap and
Frugal.
And,
Frugal.
you're wearing hand-me-ups from your kids.
I take them and I sew them all together to make like a quilt pants.
Now you see, I've reached the age where I don't have holes in my pants or anything like that, but I have to worry about my propensity for portliness, and so I have to watch what I eat and be walk.
So I thought when you retire, you just get sweatpants and you just.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that.
you
Or
just
you
hang
can
out.
just walk around the house in your underwear.
Is that what my neighbors always walking around outside?
You strategically place pants in different places of the home, so in case someone rings the doorbell, you can run and get some pants on real quick.
Man,
that's also a COVID-19 tip.
Yeah.
So, but that's
keep
mainly
people away from you too. Socially distance somebody with underwear.
Well, if it's someone that you reasonably know well, you go ahead and open the door. You don't have to put on the pants.
If it's a family
because they know
member.
you. It's a family member. They know you.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about it. And so our taxation, Biden is he's not telling us the whole truth about taxation and his plan, which you can also see in his Communist Manifesto, the Biden-Sanders Unity Plan, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then, the other thing he said the other day that really got my goat, and I don't even have a goat, but he got it.
The greatest of all time? Sorry.
The goat?
That's what I thought the goat meant. But I guess not.
No. I see where you're going on that one. I see where you're going on that. And I wasn't thinking in that direction.
No, I'm sorry.
But that's a good one to
No.
We'll go that goat route another. But this really got my goat in the sense that it
took your goat.
It took my goat.
Now
and
you
it's
have
gone.
to mow your yard, and the goat's not chewing your grass.
He charged me taxes. He took my goat. Is that Biden said that he was going to almost immediately when he gets back into the office is get the United States back into the Paris Climate Accord. And I went, Trump got us out of that.
Yeah, and I don't know that everybody knows what that actually means, because I know that I don't. But I know that and here's my take on it, even though, and this is where I talk about things that I don't know about.
Okay, that's good.
And I give a very poignant point.
Ooh, good word.
So, let's say you get into this agreement.
Yeah.
You call it the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah.
Sounds like in Paris, they talked about doing something together, and all the people are going to go back and they're going to, whatever they're going to do. But they're going to agree to go do this.
You are so good.
Yeah.
It's like you were there.
So, that's exactly what,
but it's the details that's where the problem is.
But that's where
the details.
But here's my point, though, on the details. So I'm assuming it has to do with energy and clean energy, and I'm assuming all that. Now, what about China? Was China a member of the Paris Climate Accord?
They were in that group. Yeah.
What about India? What about all the major players? So everybody in the world. So everybody in the world agrees that we're gonna go home and we're not gonna burn any coal, and we're not gonna, and everything's gonna be clean. And
yeah, they all agreed as long as it was the United States.
Right. And so here's the deal: the United States is not the only one producing carbon dioxide.
Oh, and you know who is the largest?
If I had to guess, I would say it's not Australia.
Now, see, you took that in an angle I wasn't expecting either.
But I don't know. Isn't that?
I'll tell you.
Okay. Because I didn't know.
Just a little over 30%, maybe 31% of the world's carbon output comes from China.
Huh.
The United States produces 14%.
I think that's a pretty good thing that needs to get out.
Yeah, people are saying, and even though China produces nearly a third of the carbon output in the world a year,
1/3.
They are considered in this climate accord, they're considered a developing nation. So they don't have to follow to the tooth and nail of the agreement.
Yeah.
So they can continue to do the things that they're doing.
Because they're not developed as much as we are. Because they don't have as much corn.
Well, that's right. They need our corn.
Yeah.
But the reality is, the United States was going to pay for the accord.
Yeah.
And we were going to have to reduce our carbon footprint by getting rid of fossil fuels and going to renewable energy sources like windmills and what are other renewable
the sun.
solar panels and all these things that all cause the gas prices will go through the roof. the ultimate aspect of that, and the reason they want that to happen, is they really want people to get rid of gasoline automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the
So-
Green New Deal, they want you to get rid of that by 2030.
So I got an interesting question that I think is interesting. So if you've got an electric car, how does that get electricity?
You have to charge it up.
So where does that electricity come from?
You have to have the electrical plants.
So how does that electrical plant produce electricity?
And there you go with the Green New Deal and the Paris Climate Accord. They want to get rid of coal-fired electrical plants.
Okay.
And
So what
anything
about-
is fossil fuel oriented.
What about nuclear?
They're not really into nuclear either because of the waste products and the
Yeah.
so nuclear is not really in their plan either. They love to have the windmills and the solar panels and try and come up with new even technologies that we probably don't know about.
It seems like nuclear though would be a good one, just because as long as technology could keep. I mean, because I know what's the place? I saw it on a Netflix documentary, Chernobyl. That was like that, and then they
That
had
blew
then they
up.
had another series.
We had 3 Mile
That
Island.
was
and-
really. Oh yeah, we had 3 Mile. Is that still happening? I mean, they've still got that. It's still
but
operating.
It's not operating.
Oh, it's not.
It's they shut down that reactor.
Okay.
And the Chernobyl reactor was shut down, but there's a reactor just like it right next to the thing, and that's still running.
Oh.
And I don't think the United States has built a nuclear reactor in over 30 years.
Yeah, because that
So-
seems like you'd probably get a lot of power from a nuclear reactor.
You can, but you create radioactive waste, which
Yeah.
then has a half-life of 25, 35,000 years.
Yeah.
And
But just think about the size of the deer.
it's true, but
Yeah.
the rack as you had it hanging on your wall would be glowing.
Then you wouldn't have to run your lights in the afternoon. You would save energy.
AOC is probably going to call you up and ask you to be on her team.
I don't know that I want. I don't know that. I don't. I'm not going to go there.
Well, so this is it. The folks need to understand what the Biden-Sanders unity plan is. Look it up on the internet. Do a Google search, and it comes up right up. And be prepared to read a lot of pages, single-spaced. You can see the Paris Climate Accord. Oh, and Obama knew that he could not get the Paris Climate Accord through the Senate to be ratified.
Right.
So he just agreed to it through an executive order.
And you can't do that.
Well,
I mean, I
actually,
guess
he
you can?
can, but that's also the reason why President Trump was able to do an executive order to get out of the Paris Accord.
So these executive orders seem kind of sketchy because it just depends on who's in power.
Well, that's it.
So like every 4 years you could have
That's
I guess
exactly what happens.
which I guess is a good thing. So we never get anything done.
Which gets back to I think our argument last week or the week before last, where I was talking about Democrats always said elections have results, and now we're having the
consequences.
yeah
Or results.
elections have
They
consequences.
obviously have results.
Yeah, they do have
The
results.
results.
I'm just so excited about talking about the Paris Climate Accord.
I'm surprised I caught that.
Well, it's weeks of us working together. What were we talking about?
The executive orders.
The executive
Trump
orders
canceled it out.
It's one of those things that when they set the nation up through the Constitution we talked about a few weeks ago, is the power of the executive office has to be such that you can run a nation. Because if you're trying to get things through Congress on a permanent basis, likelihood of that happening will be nil.
I say, one thing I heard that's not talked about a lot, and this is totally off topic. Imagine. Which is that Trump hasn't really started any wars, or if anything, he's been getting everybody kind of. He's one of the most peaceful presidents we've had in a really long time, as far as just everybody chill out.
Just chill out.
Yeah, just not. like we don't have to keep killing people. Now there's some bad people that they have taken out, like some
Well, yeah, Soleimani and
yeah, and that's to be expected, I guess. That's more, but you're not
He's
you're
a
not
bad
trying
guy.
to police the world
No.
for the most part.
we're not
you know?
supposed to be. We shouldn't do that.
No, and I think that, and I talked to a guy this weekend he was a Marine, and he had gone in after 9/11, and he wanted to be in, he wanted to go fight. But anyway, long story short, he never got the chance to do it. He ended up working on airplanes, and, but he's a pretty cool guy.
He should
and
stay
just-
safe.
Yeah, he stayed safe, and well, I told him because I felt at the same time I did not go into the services, and it's one of those
Well, the
things. like-
timing wasn't. You didn't have anything that.
I didn't have anything drawing me to it, no. So and I did thank him, and I said, look, I'm the piece of crap that you were over there protecting. So some people will say, hey, thank you for your service, but I was like, look, no, I really do, because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything productive.
No, actually, you were. You were supporting him being over there doing his thing.
Yeah, I guess and
you
that's
know,
the thing. We support each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
So anyway, that was another side. Well,
well, we've pretty much beat this one to death.
our
I guess.
time limit has come, and this wasn't too bad.
No, I thought this was pretty good. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
You know what? I did think of because all right. So you were talking about your trying to eat right, and I was going to have a salad this weekend, but I was worried because there's a big E. coli breakout, and so but I saw someone on the news and they said lettuce, romaine com.
Lettuce romaine com. .com.
Com. CALM.
Okay. I thought you were talking about a website.
No, lettuce.
Romaine
Salad. You
com.
get it?
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And I'm sorry we exposed you to that.
My delivery wasn't.
Well, we're working on it.
So, is there anything else? You gotta.
I got. There's tons of things we can talk about.
Let's see. Oh, Mother Nature. So there was a. I can't even do it.
Was this another calm?
Yeah, it was another.
I
I got a joke book that I've been wearing out this weekend with my kids.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
That was one of my favorites. Lettuce, romaine.
I was reading the Biden-Sanders unity plan, and you're reading the joke book.
You were basically the same thing, right?
Well, it was the same thing, but mine was single space
Oh, lots of spaces.
and 125 pages long.
One joke per page.
Jeez.
So I had about 125 jokes.
I didn't print it out. I just read it on the. My
that's
goodness
too funny.
sakes! I wasn't going to waste paper on Biden and Sanders.
No.
But next week we'll probably be able to talk about the Supreme Court justice hearings that they're having this week.
Ooh.
That poor woman. I'm so scared for her. They're going to attack her because she's Catholic.
Maybe not.
I hope not.
They already did.
They-
So that horse has been beat.
well, I'm hoping that.
So maybe they'll get her for something else.
Well, when I left the house this morning, they were already talking about the fact that with her being on the court, she would automatically wipe out the Affordable Care Act. And
Wow.
I say to myself, and as I do to others, why is it that only a liberal progressive is considered fair? Why can't a conservative judge also be considered fair? And
Because
that's
the liberal is fighting for the oppressed.
in their minds. That's what that's in their.
Yeah.
in
And
their-
some people get it in their minds that they're oppressed. I know that.
I think they want to make it that way.
Yeah, I know that I could pick a couple of times where I could blame some stuff on people, but yeah.
We ought to be able to get on shows like Diamond and Silk. They ought to call us and say, "Hey, would you join us?"
I don't know who that is.
They're,
I need to look that up.
They're folks that
I'll look
started
it
a
up.
podcast years ago, and
Okay.
and they're good.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
They're conservative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They love Trump.
you're conservative.
I'm conservative. You're independent.
I read joke books.
He's-
That's my politics.
That's not true. You
But
you got your pulse, your finger on the pulse. You know what you're doing.
Well, no, I act like it.
That's
All right.
that's the biggest thing. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye.